welcome back to another edition of In Your Pocket, all brought to you by GameFace and with the support of Valley Vicious. Darren Parkin is my name. Another round complete in the Outer East and some massive blowouts and some really significant movements across all divisions where we start to get a bit of an idea as to where the strength lies across the competition. We'll welcome our panel straight away. Lee Lawrence back for another week. Lee, nice to have you with us and some big statements this weekend.
Definitely, mate. Thanks for having me again. Great to be here and, a couple of real blowouts this week.
And we've got Quinn DeLuca out from behind the camera this time to join us after kicking thousands of goals in the Ammos every week. Quinn, nice to have you on board.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks for having me. And I had a few requests to get on camera this week, so here I am.
We had to listen to the people, that's for sure. We'll also be catching up very shortly with Wayne van der Os, coach of Yarra, Glen, fresh from their success for the 7th straight time in the Pride Cup. But we'll kick it off with Div 2 in just a moment. Thank you to our sponsors, Growth Syndicates Australia, of course, Woodards Manningham, who take care of Div 2 for us, Lilydale Jeep for Division 1, and of course the crew at Doncaster East and Templestowe Community Bank branch for our Premier Division. But Division 2 is where we will kick it off. The highlight fixture was Kinglake and Alexandra with a 32-point win to Kinglake. We'll touch more on that in a moment. Warburton got their first win of the season by demolishing Broadford. Yarra Junction, with the best part of a 200-point win, 195 was the end margin in their game over Yea. They actually leapfrogged Alexandra into second position on the table, and Yarra Glen Powtown, which will be our focus game shortly, a 21-point result. But it was about 8 goals the difference at half-time, Lee. So blowouts really across the board. 21 points was about as close as that game got all day. But what did you make of the round?
Yeah, the round, obviously a couple of big blowouts, and then the two other games were fairly close. The Kinglake Alex game, 1v2, very close game, and Kinglake coming away with the chocolates there, as I think most of us would have thought would have happened. But Alex did have a crack. And the other close one there was the Pride Cup with Yarra Glen against Powtown, which was a really great game too. It
was, Quinn, and Kinglake making the early statement that they are the team to beat with that 32-point win in the undefeated clash. But they don't have to look far over their shoulder to find Yarra Junction, who were pretty impressive.
Yarra Junction been very impressive, and you see some of the performances. Div 2 Player of the Week, which we'll have coming up shortly, is actually from Yarra Junction, and they've been having some really good performances. I'm really looking forward to that clash when it comes around.
We look at the 7th straight Pride Cup, and Yarra Glen getting the result there by 21 points, 11-10, 76 to 7-13, 55. It was 8-4 to 1-6 at half-time, 5 goals to zip at quarter time. You can see some of the highlights here of the contest. Lee, what did you make of that game and the Yarra Glen performance? I think you did say that they'd never lost it prior when we were doing our tips last week, and proved to be
definitely
correct.
Not. Yarra Glen have definitely not lost a Pride Cup, and they continued that way with a fantastic start, jumping out to a 30-point lead at quarter time, I believe, and then half time to be 52-12, I believe, and it was a really good game. We knew that everyone knew that Powtown were going to come back though, and so the week before, Yarra Glen played Kinglake, and up to three-quarter time, Yarra Glen were in front. So I guess the Yarra Glen team might have been thinking, well, this isn't going to happen again, and nearly did. Powtown did push them right down to the wire, but Yarra Glen come away with a fantastic win.
Yeah, very good results there. The comeback from Powtown, as you said, was anticipated, but the margin was far too severe at half-time, and they were able to go out winners by the best part of 4 goals. Wayne van der Os, new coach of Yarra Glen after a pretty tumultuous 2020 for everybody, where there was a lot of change across the sporting landscape. And Wayne joins us. Congratulations, mate. Your thoughts on the victory?
Thanks for having me, guys. Look,
Here we go.
We came with a game plan on Saturday to really just hit them hard and attack them from the start. We wanted to play our brand of football, which is fast footy, and we decided to, really up the ante against them and come through the middle and really attack them and hit the scoreboard early, which was evident, and we got the chocolates in the end.
You'd led it three-quarter time the week before, and obviously that got away from you a little bit there. You then started really well. Was it the emphasis to immediately halt any momentum that had been lost the week before?
Yeah, look, that game against Kinglake, I thought that was a bit of a learning curve for us, leading at three-quarter time. So we took that. We had a look at it. We took a lot of positives out of that. And then, look, we knew Powertown were going to come back at us. They're a good side. They've recruited well. We knew they were going to come back, but we held firm. We had a couple of opportunities in that last quarter to put them away, but we didn't. But then eventually, about 20 minutes into the last quarter, we got that goal that I think it just iced the game and took all the momentum away from Powertown.
Wayne, firstly, congratulations on your first win at the Yarra Glen Footy Club.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, first game against Alex, Yarra Glen were definitely in that game. The following week, you beat Yay out of Yay, then come up against a pretty strong Kinglake team. Going into the Powley game, were you confident that the boys were getting better and better each week?
Oh, yeah, look, we were building over the last couple of weeks. We were playing some good football. Kinglake, we definitely showed our best football. Look, the last quarter against Kinglake was a little bit disappointing. We did lose 2 on the bench, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. And I thought we really hit our strides in that first half against Powertown. That was our best football. And look, we will continue to play that way. Attack, come through the middle, and just play a good brand of football, and which was very evident on the weekend.
What I did notice, obviously, with Powertown, their ruck in Rats in the ruck, he's a very strong ruckman. But Yarra Glen seemed to read him really well. And although Powertown were winning every tap out pretty much, the Yarra Glen boys were able to dominate through the middle.
Yeah, look, we knew Rats was going to dominate against us. We're a little bit undersized in our ruck department, but our boys in the middle really read him really well, and that was evident in the clearances. I think we won 37-28 in the clearances. So we were really proactive through the middle and around the ground just to be on the front foot and really win the clearances. And we pride ourselves on our clearance work, our hard ball gets and our ground ball gets. And that's something we will continue to work on and hopefully continue to improve throughout the year.
A really positive thing with that too was that you had probably 2 of your best midfielders out against Powertown. Obviously, they'll come back into the mix fairly soon, but you must be proud of the midfield group on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Look, they were on the front foot from the start. They knew it was a big task, coming up against Rats. I mean, look, he's the best ruckman in the competition by far. His size, his mobility, and what he can do around the ground. But the boys were they're up for the challenge. And look, it was Pride Cup. I was told before I got the job that we never lose Pride Cup. So there was a big emphasis on this game, and the boys delivered.
How have you settled in overall? Obviously, it was an unsettling 2020 for most people. You obviously went through a coaching change or a job change yourself, obviously coming across from Knox. How have you adjusted and settled into this role?
Oh, look, 2020 for everyone was, disappointing. I moved on pretty quickly. I jumped at this opportunity at Yarra Glen. Once I got the job, I jumped straight into it. I knew there were some gaps we needed to fill, and so I recruited some guys from Lilydale who have, played Division 1 football. So that was about 4 or 5 guys I brought in. They've plugged some holes, and they've brought, senior experience, finals experience, which have helped the group. But we're still a young side. We're developing. From 2019, there's about 8 to 10 changes. So the guys are still gelling and, learning their strengths and weaknesses. So we're coming along nicely. I mean, it's only 4 games into the season. So we're tracking where we want to be at the moment. We're playing good football, but we can still improve.
Without putting pressure on anyone, have you got a couple of those young names that as the season goes on and as we get later in the year, you'd expect that we'll see a lot more of, and you think they'll develop up into really top-line senior players?
Yeah, look, we gave one guy an opportunity, Jaden Capuano, a weekend opportunity. I thought he did really well for a young 18-year-old kid. There's still a couple of more boys running around in the twos. And also, look, we've got 6-7 guys to come back to play in the seniors. A couple of those guys are under the age of 22. So those guys will, continually come back, play through the twos, push for senior selection, and then hopefully get back into the seniors. So we're a young side, and we'll continue to play the young kids. If these kids are playing well in the twos, I will reward them.
It was good to see Callum Morrison up forward kick a couple. He can play back also, can't he?
Yeah, he's very versatile. He can play centre half back or full forward or centre half forward, and that's why I recruited him. He was my number one recruit. Took a while to get him, but I'm glad he's come on board. And you can see on the weekend when he's up and about, he's taking marks, he's kicking goals, and he's finding his feet right now. So he will only get better as the season goes on.
Anyone coming back in this week, or do you rest a few sore bodies, or how do you approach the game coming up this week?
Look, this week maybe one or two guys will come back from injury. The other guys are still a couple of weeks away, so we'll take the safety approach. I'm not going to rush guys in, and if guys are sore and not right, I don't play them, and then I'd rather go to the reserves and play a young kid and give them the opportunity. I will only play guys if they're 100% and ready to go, and play for the jumper. So, look, we're in a good spot at the moment. We're sitting in the 5 and playing good footy, but there's a long way to go.
You got a match up like this week where you've come off a big game for the club, a traditionally big game for the club, and a good win, and everybody would expect that you'd probably win this match this week. So from a coaching point of view, is it about not keeping people's feet on the ground, but also sort of emphasising you've done that job, you've got to move on and do the next job? It just doesn't just happen. Has there been any elements of trying to guard against what can sometimes happen after a blockbuster game?
Oh, look, yeah, definitely. After a game like that, you can get ahead of yourself. But look, we've already moved on. We trained last night. It was a good session, and we've already planned for Broadford. I still look at this game as a danger game. They're new to the competition. I know they're young, but on any given day, if you're a couple % off, you can get beaten. So we're taking this game very seriously. It's a good road trip. The boys will be travelling on the bus. So it's a good opportunity to bond, go up there. And look, we just want to get the win and continue to play our brand of footy and win well. But the boys haven't got ahead of themselves. They know they've got a job to do this weekend against Broadford.
Wayne, thank you very much for joining us. Great to have you in the competition, and it's terrific to have you on the show. Good luck going forward. Well done on the win on the weekend, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of you over the coming weeks.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and good luck for the rest of the show.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wayne Vander Ross joining us there, coach of Yarra Glen, discussing their season so far, which sits at 2-2 with a percentage pretty much smack bang on 100. So they're going fairly well over the early stages of this campaign. Been competitive against some good sides. So the percentage here, 99.37 coming in. So about evens. They're in the 5. They've beaten one of the sides above them. They've been competitive against a couple of those as well. So I guess just a final comment, Lee, on the results before we move on and have a look at something else. Warburton, their first win, I think we anticipated that would happen. Can they build some momentum from here?
Oh, they definitely will. You wins like that, that's where it starts to build. It would have been happy time at Warby last Saturday night. And I know they've got a big game coming up this week against King Lake, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah.
I think that's right, yep.
Yeah, so, they've got to get back into it, but I reckon they will start to build from here. Warby will get in there somehow.
Probably hard to argue with our player of the round in Div 2, David Johnson, to have 31 possessions, take 16 marks and kick 8 is a fairly impressive day at the office. 235 ranking points on top of that as well. So, yeah, there's some freakish numbers.
I believe he missed quite a few too.
I was about to say, I'll actually touch on those stats. He kicked 8-7 for the day, so he had plenty of scoring opportunities. And with 31 touches as well, it just makes you think what he could have done if he kicked straight. That's
the type of numbers that Gary Ablett Sr. used to get in the late 80s, early 90s, where he just push up the ground and get 35 touches and kick 10 and have those big sorts of days. So that was a terrific performance. We'll look ahead to round 5 in Div 2. Alexandra coming off a hard-fought loss to Kinglake, take on Yay, who got a fair old touch-up themselves from Yarra Junction, but not convinced they're absolutely hopeless. So although universal in our tips that Alexandra win that game?
Yeah, I believe Alex win. They're just doing enough for now, and we're nearly halfway through in a couple of weeks, and Alex are finding themselves in a really good position.
We're going to play a game a little bit later on called Buy, Hold and Sell. We'll do that at the end of the program, looking across all of the divisions. So if you are commenting on Facebook pages where you're watching this, feel free to add those in or smash us for whatever our suggestions are. You can do all of those things via the comments, but it's basically across the comp, all the three divisions, which teams you want to buy, so their stocks are on the rise, which teams you're just holding on to, you're not so sure which way you want to go with them at the moment, and maybe who you're selling, who you're completely off. If you've got shares, you're getting rid of them as quickly as you can. A few might pop up across this competition, but Quinn, you're with Alexandra as well?
Yeah, I'm with Alex in this one. I just think they're going to be too strong.
Yarra Junction v Powertown is interesting. Powertown have promised a lot, yet to totally deliver that, but in saying that, they're not in a hopeless position, whereas Yarra Junction have got themselves up into second place. Lee, do you expect the home side to keep rolling?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting game. Obviously, Yarra Junction are flying at the minute, and Powertown will be pretty upset with their effort on the weekend. Powley need to win this, don't they? I just don't think they can with the way Yarra Junction are going at the minute.
I think they're too strong as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be going Yarra Junction as well. I think Powertown have probably been a little bit disappointing from where we would have expected them to be. And I think Yarra Junction are just flying at the moment, so I can't see them losing this one.
We just spoke to Wayne. Yarra Glen, I think, based on the attitude and everything there, are going to be a little bit too professional. They'll land on their feet and get the result against Broadford fairly comfortably, we would expect.
Yeah, I would suggest so.
Yeah, I can't mount much of a case at the moment for Broadford.
And Warburton, the challenge for them in good form, coming off a 144-point win to take on Kinglake, who just had the top of the table clash. Quinn, can you mount a case for Warby at home?
Well, they'll be up and about. They've had their first win now, so they'll be pumped. They'll be raring to go, although I just think Kinglake are going to keep that undefeated streak going, and I don't see them dropping this one.
No, I'm going to go the other way. I think Warby are going to be up and about. Kinglake weren't that impressive against Yarra Glen. They got the win against Alex. I reckon Warby might cause an upset.
I think Warby will be in the game. I am leading Kinglake's way, but I think it'll be a pretty tight contest. It'll be a 15-point result or thereabouts. So there are our thoughts on Div 2. We go to Division 1, and again some blowouts here. 3 results by in excess of 100 points. Mount Evelyn thumping Belgrave by 143. Emerald beat Seville by 114 points, 24 goals to 6. Monbulk by 158 over Berwick Springs, and even the other result, the close one, sure, Gembrook beat Healesville by 77 points. That was the closest of matches across the weekend. So probably learnt a bit about the haves and the have-nots, or who's up and about, Lee, across those results. It shows you who's going well and who isn't.
Yeah, definitely right. But I have banged on a bit about Division 1 being such a close division. Some teams just have an off day. I think that's what's happened this week. I still think it's going to be a very close division.
Yeah, Belgrave, the side that's battling a bit down the bottom, but looking at it across there, it's pretty tight. Mount Evelyn at the top are unbeaten through 4. Monbulk and Gembrook with 3 wins to this stage. But when you look at Monbulk, their percentage of 276.4, they've had some huge wins.
Absolutely, and I think that's going to hold them in good stead later in the season. Like you said, the competition is so tight at the moment, and percentage is going to mean everything. And you've seen some big wins and some massive results, and I think that's going to follow through towards the end of the year, and Monbulk will probably keep doing that and getting some big results and building that percentage even more.
Lee, you concerned about Healesville?
Yeah, a little bit, to be honest. I have backed them heavily in the past, and that Gembrook result is pretty disappointing.
Yeah, it is a fairly substantial touch-up for them. 77 points in that result. Some big performances from Emerald in their 114-point belting of Seville. That's a standout game to look at. Jake Petter with 5, Patrick Chin with 4, Nick Jansen 28 touches in that game as well. Our story last week centred around Seville's key forwards when they kicked the cricket score in their game. 13 goals and 5 goals respectively between Lee Williams and Nathan O'Keefe. So 18 between them last week, just the 2 between them this week, although Nathan O'Keefe, in fairness, had 28 touches roaming around the forward line and pushing up the ground. So still played well, but that was one of the large keys to Emerald to be able to restrict Seville, who kicked about 30 goals the week before, to just the 6.
Well, you've got to pay credit to Emerald. That is a fantastic score, and they've done it against a team who was a really good team. let's be honest, several were probably flat during the week, and my condolences to the Seville Football Club. They'll bounce back. You know, you can have a 1 week off.
Yeah, from Pooh Bears.
And they'll be thereabouts.
Yeah, we touched on it a bit last week. It was a tough little period for the club. But broadly speaking, Quinn, would you be concerned at all by Seville?
Not really. I think from what we've seen earlier in the year, it's enough to be impressed by them. And like Lee said, you know, obviously a tough week for them. At the time of recording last week, the news wasn't fully out yet, and then obviously what's happened is a terrible tragedy. So I think they've probably suffered a little bit from that, and it got to them a little bit, but I don't think there's much to be worried about. I think they're going to be very strong to go through the year.
Yeah, that's right. It's a tough
Look at if there was,
what the response
go down to the bottom and see the additional.
Condolences across the Seville Football Club. Player of the round in Div 1, Damien Volter, 39 possessions, 23 of those contested, 10 clearances. 1 goal, 224 ranking points as well. There were some big performances across those couple of divisions as we look at the next week in Div 1. Mount Evelyn playing Monbulk, which is a fascinating way to start at Mount Evelyn. So Mount Evelyn at the top of the tree with 4 wins, Monbulk 3-1, but some huge scores and some huge victories. Lee, how are you reading this? Should be a good game.
It's going to be a fantastic game, 1v2. Monbulk have been getting these big scores. Are they going to be able to do it on the Mount Evelyn ground? It's going to be tight. I'm going to tip Mount Evelyn in 2 points.
That's probably, I think, a fairly shared view. I think it'll be less than a kick either way. Quinn, which way are you going?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very tight. The only reason I'm giving it to Mount Evelyn is the home ground advantage. I think it'll help them a lot. I've seen Monbulk do good things as well, but yeah, I'm going to have to go Mount Evelyn for the home ground advantage.
Yeah, but it's not paid into her super fund, which means she has another one.
Both sides going well, but I'm just going to edge Monbulk's way, just to squeeze
she has
this
another
result. I like what I've been seeing from them over the last
like,
couple of weeks, but again, less than a kick in it. But I think they will sneak home. Belgrave, they've been battling a bit, as we know. They do host a Gembrook side that sits 3-1 and has had some really good results. Do we assume that Gembrook, Lee, keep on rolling, or can Belgrave build something?
I think Belgrave need to improve, and I think they will this week. I don't think they'll win the game, but I think we'll see a big improvement from Belgrave, but Gembrook to win.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going with Gembrook for this one.
Likewise, Berwick Springs v Emerald. Interesting game, that Emerald result, obviously, from last week. We caught a few people by surprise, the magnitude of it. Berwick, a tough loss to Monbulk and have just the 1 win on the season. So on face value, you'd assume Emerald roll on and just keep that momentum running. But the overall season might paint a bit of a different picture. Do you give a bit of hope for Berwick?
Yeah, I was still finding it hard to judge this Berwick Springs team. So Emerald, fantastic last week. Berwick Springs at home. I'm going to tip Berwick.
There you go.
Yeah, I think Berwick Springs has been such a surprise packet because we didn't know what to expect from them. I'm going to go Emerald purely because I think momentum will take them forward, and I think they might have found their straps a little bit. So I'm going to go with them for that reason.
Yeah, winning form's good form. Be interesting to see, if Berwick do start well, though, given the nature of Emerald's win last week, whether, how comfortably they did it, if it's a nice competitive opening, whether that puts them on the back foot early. Officer and Healesville are the next of those games. We didn't see Officer at the weekend, but Healesville versus Gembrook last week, a 77-point loss, and we spoke about them being a little bit on the nose, but do we give them a chance at Officer, Lee?
No, I've jumped off Healesville. I won't be tipping them this week. Officer.
So Officer to get the job done. Do you agree, Quinn?
Yeah, I have to give it to Officer, just on form. I'd like to see Healesville find something this week, but I think at the home ground advantage that Officer have as well, it's going to be tough.
Percentage tells you a bit of a story too. Both these sides are 1 and 2 across 3 games. Healesville with a percentage of 58, Officer with a percentage of 116. To state the obvious, it indicates your balance between attack and defence, and Healesville just losing their way a little bit at the moment. That's Div 1. We turn our attention across to the Premier grade now, and looking at some of the results there. Close game between Upwey and Wandon. It took a while to get a thriller, and we got 3 really close games across the Premier Division. Upwey by 2 points, 12-11 to 11-15 over Wandon. The one blowout saw Beaconsfield, and won't surprise too many people, they look really good. They thumped Doveton by 166. The Narry-Pakenham game, a rivalry between those two sides that's lasted for a while, and Narry came over the top of Pakenham to beat them by 7 points, having trailed for a lot of the day. And Olinda defeated an inaccurate Warrialec 12-13 to 9-16, a 15-point result there to Olinda. So Beaky sits clear on percentage. Narry have played the one extra game and sits second. Both those sides have won 3, and Olinda have won 2. The rest of those sides with a 1-1 or a 1-2 record, depending on how many times we've seen them. But the standout results, Leah, across those, obviously Beaky belting Doveton, but pretty close in the others.
Yeah, besides that one game, pretty close all round. Obviously the Upway Wandon game, very close. And the Olinda-Woori game, bit of rivalry there. Olinda to get up at home. I think Woori will probably get them back the next time.
Yeah, up and down the hill, that rivalry there. Narry-Pakenham, Quinn, that was a good game. We were sort of talking a little bit about that one in the lead-up, and I think it was 5-2 in the last quarter from Narry that got them home.
Yeah, absolutely, and I guess that just shows how strong of a side Narry are, and they've been able to do that the last couple of years. But I thought Pakenham put on a great show as well and made it a really close game. Yeah, it was one of the probably my favourite from the week, if other than the Upway Wandon one, of course.
Yeah, Upway pinching that result in a thriller. So last week's heart-stopping finish between Beaconsfield and Cranbourne, which we brought you with the late winner after the hanger in last week's game. Upway Tacoma defeating Wandon by 3 points. Glen Costas with 37 touches, put the ball inside 50 10 times, 163 ranking points. Keenan Hinton gave him a helping hand. He had 34 touches, a goal, and 16 rebounds. So some really pivotal performances from a couple of those stars. Can you make anything, Lee, from the conference at this stage, where from the matches that we've seen? Are you anticipating? We know that Beaky and Narry are going to be pretty good sides. Pakenham are still handy, but how do you feel about occupying other finals positions by the end of the season? Have you got a clearer picture?
Oh, yeah, it looks pretty... I think Olinda will still drop down there a little bit. I think that 5th and 6th spot is sort of going to be up in the air between Pakenham, Woori and Upway, but... yeah, obviously Olinda don't play this week, and Narry don't play. That's correct, yeah.
Correct.
So, yeah, still a little bit of movement there.
So that's across the Premier Division. So some standout games or some standout performances to get sides across the line in some really close finishes there. Glen Costas, who we just mentioned, is the player of the round for those numbers: 37 touches, 23 contested possessions, 10 inside 50s, and 163 ranking points. And when you win a game by 2 points, that is very much worth emphasising. Upway v Cranbourne. Can Upway continue the momentum there and get the job done against Cranbourne?
No, I wouldn't think so, mate. Cranbourne are very strong. They'll get the win.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I think Cranbourne are going to be too strong.
Warrialec Doveton, a battle between Doveton, who was sort of down the lower ends of the table, and Warrialec, who had that tough loss, didn't kick all that well in their game against Olinda last week.
Fantastic chance for Warrior to bounce back, I believe. Doveton is struggling a bit. Warrior will win this.
Yeah, I'm going to say Woori will win this as well. Like you said, it's probably inaccuracy that hurt them last week. I reckon they'll take their chances this week and take the win.
I agree, and Wandon would have been burning very close to their first win of the season. Got beaten by a couple of points. They play a pretty good Pakenham side that were on top of Narry for a lot of that game. Ended up losing 10-3 to 10-10. Can Wandon take anything, Quinn, out of that game that could see them perhaps start well and ask some questions of Packy?
They can definitely take some confidence going forward into this game. I don't think they'll win it. I think Pakenham will take this, although I reckon they'll put on a good show and give them a real run for their money, especially with the home ground advantage.
Wandon play that ground really well. Won't be a blowout, but I think Pakenham will win.
So that's Premier. We go to the veterans, the over 35s.
Yeah, there's no veterans this week.
No veterans this week, but we have got the result. We don't have the results from last week, do we?
No, there's been nothing played.
Nothing played. Oh, good. We'll scrap that. We've got veterans this week, though. Narry Warren v Gembrook, Marysville v Mount Evelyn, and Tooradin v Hillsville. We had a little bit of a chat about them last week, but just reiterating your thoughts on those games.
I believe that Gembrook will beat Narry. Mount Evelyn will beat Marysville, and Hillsville will beat Tooradin.
So that's the 3 away sides, is it?
pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So
there you go.
So they'll go on the road. They'll get the results in those veterans competitions. Buy, swap and sell. So just to reiterate that, and if you are monitoring this via Facebook, feel free to add your comments and throw some of those our way. So across the divisions, what we want to know from you and from our panel is who are you buying? So whose stocks are on the up? Where you think I want to be on that train? I think that they're a side that's getting better. They are going places. For example, you'd be unlikely to buy a side that might have won 4 flags in a row because they're at top dollar and there's not a lot of room to move. Who are you holding? So you're just a little bit concerned by a couple of things, but you're not prepared to jump off, or they're in good form, but you're not yet convinced and don't want to jump on. You just want to have another look at them for a week or two longer. Who are you selling? Who are you off? So basically, if you've got shares in them, you want to get rid of them as fast as you can because you think their price is only going down. Let's start with the buy. I'm going to buy Yarra Junction, who I think are building some quite nice form, working through the last couple of weeks. Lee, do you have anyone that you're buying?
Well, I think great minds think alike, mate. A lot of people did write off Junction at the start of the year. Their form of late has been fantastic, kicking these big scores, plenty of goal kickers. I'm buying the junk.
I like it.
I'll go something different. I won't go Yarra Junction, but I will go Yarra Glen. I think they've shown some good performances as well, and I like what I've seen from them.
Buying the junk. That's terrific. That's perfect for this segment. Who are you holding, Quinn? Is there anyone just hanging on to, thinking, I don't know about where they're... I don't know if I'm convinced yet either way. Is there someone that you just to watch this space on?
Yeah, I think Powtown for me. I've still got faith. I think their list is pretty good. I think it hasn't gelled together properly for them yet, but I'm going to hold Powtown.
Lee?
I am holding Seville. I think last week was just a bad week for the footy club. I think they'll be all right, and I think they'll be right up there.
Yeah, I was very, very close to doing exactly the same with you on that again. I think that they're every chance to bounce back, but I'm going to hold. I think they're a pretty handy side. I'm going to hold pack of them. Obviously, they lost a tight game last week. Just keen to see exactly where they sit in the pecking order in that division and where it is all placed over the next couple of weeks. So I'm holding them. Who are you selling, Lee? You can't get rid of their shares quickly enough. No, and this is where we will cop a belting, but we're
probably
prepared.
Will cop a little bit of a belting for this. I'm selling Powtown. I've watched them the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they're just not convincing me yet. That doesn't say that later in the year I might buy them back, but they're not doing enough for me at the minute.
Quinn?
Yeah, for me, I'm selling Doveton. It's pretty similar reasons. I haven't seen enough from them just yet. They're not really giving me much faith at this stage, so I'll probably bite my own words coming up a bit later. But for now, I'll be selling Doveton.
I'm with you again. I'm selling Powertown as well. I think that eventually they might click. There's a lot of new players there and trying to gel together as a group, but it may come too late for them, I think, based on... I think they're the perfect for this scenario where they would have been bumped up at the start of the season. A lot of people would have been really keen on them, so it's probably now a time to sell whilst they're still at a reasonable price there for buy, hold and sell. So let us know your thoughts. We'll try to run that through over each week, building forward with the other buy, swap, or buy, hold and sell, if you will. Thank you to Growth Syndicates Australia for their partnership, to Woodards Manningham, to the team at Lilydale Jeep, and to Doncaster East and Templestowe Community Bank Branch. To Lee and Quinn, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back again to have a look at the next round of fixtures across the Outer East. This has been In Your Pocket with thanks to GameFace and Valley Vicious.